Hello everyone, back tuning into the fall summer 2023 update from GavsWeatherVids. So here we go again, trying to bring you another summer update. Wow. And we're up to update number 4. And I should get on with that for you in a moment. Just to say that first video is able 6 AM upload. And 10 to 14 day coming to you later on today as well. Please like, share and subscribe on the videos. And thank you so very much everybody for doing that. Thank you so much to Richard for the amazing summer updates gear. Thank you so much, Rich. I love it. I love it. Shall we name the crab? What do you think, everybody? Shall we name the crab? Post your crab names in in the comments, and we might, if we get enough, I don't know whether anybody wants to, but if we get enough, we might name the crab. How does that sound? Yeah, but thank you so much, Rich, for our lovely summer 2023 update. If that doesn't get you in the mood for the beach and you know, getting away from it all, then nothing will it? Thank you so much, Rich. And thank you so much also to Schreier Brewing for the help on this 4th update as well. Thank you so much to #TeamGav. Now, this was billed last week as an outside the box special, but as it turned out, Richard's supercomputer needs a little longer to crunch the numbers for the outside the box. So you will see Richard's outside of the box later on in the summer updates, but for this week we're just doing like a regular summer update. Thanks so much to Rich and the Shrine #TeamGav. Whoa. Working together. Right, so actually doing something a little bit different for this one. We're looking at the NAO, the North Atlantic Oscillation. So we're beginning March data, actually, but it's too early to begin like temperature and precipitation data. So what we're going to look at this week is the NAO in March. So this is the NAO observed and forecast page from NOAA, North Atlantic Oscillation, of course, measuring air pressures between Iceland and the Azores. So when the NAO is positive, we've got low pressure around Iceland, high pressure through the Azores, and consequently we strengthen the zonal westerly flow. When the NAO is negative, we've got higher pressure, not necessarily high pressure, we've got higher pressure around Iceland and lower pressure through the Azores, and we'll displace the Azores high, typically a little bit south and west towards Bermuda. So you can see here on the NAO observed and forecast chart that since the beginning of March, the North Atlantic Oscillation has generally been in negative phase. We had quite strong negativity of the NAO through the first 10 days or so of March. It went closer to neutral, but still on the negative side of neutral through the middle part of the month, and we're going to be sending the NAO negative again through the last week of March as well. So overall, this March will be coming out as a negative NAO March. It will be having a negative North Atlantic Oscillation for March 2023. And so, quite simply, we're going to be looking at summers that are following Marches with a negative NAO of -1 or more on the index. So the first summer, well, first March and then summer is 1952. So this summer has above average heights out to our west, below average heights to our north and northeast, and the jet stream and wind flow are going to be doing something a little bit like that, coming in from a north or a northwesterly direction. So that's rather cool and unsettled summer we have in 1952. Our next summer is 1958. This is a very wet summer, very unsettled, lots of low pressure in off the Atlantic, high pressure is blocking up towards Greenland as well. So that's a cool wet summer that we have in 1958, following a negative NAO March of -1 or lower on the index. The next summer is 1962. This is a cold summer with low pressure away to the east and winds coming in from a very chilly north or northeasterly or northwesterly direction. Not overly wet summer, but it's regularly cool and cloudy. Has a very low, high temperature of only around 27 degrees, I think, and that happens actually in September, paradoxically. Just a very cool summer in 1962, of course. We've got the daddy of cold winters looming afterwards. Then we've got 1964. This is another pretty unsettled summer as well, with again below average heights to our north and northeast, higher pressure out of the Atlantic, sending a wind flow and jet stream on the northwest southeast. Like many of the summers in the 1960s are grim. And this is about the worst of them, though. This is 1965, which is just an absolutely atrocious summer with lots of low pressure across the whole of Europe, really. And it's a very, very cool and wet summer that we have in 1965. Now, this is probably the best summer of the 1960s. That's not saying much, but it's probably the best summer that we have for 10 years. So 1959 was a really good summer, and then the next half-decent summer, it doesn't reach the level of 1959, but it's a half-decent summer that we have in 1969, and this one has high pressure up towards Scandinavia and reaching into the UK. So quite a lot of easterly winds, irregularly dry, often quite warm. It's a very pleasant, useful summer that we have in 1969. 1970s, a front-loaded summer with above average heights again to our north and northeast. Winds in from the east. Has a very warm, well, actually hot June. Has a hot June, bit thundery, but a hot June, and then it deteriorates as the summer goes on and gets cooler and more unsettled. That's what we call a classic front-loaded summer. 1971 has above average heights out in the Atlantic with lower pressure to our north, east and south. So that's a rather much more mixed summer and a little bit on the cool side as well. Now this is a good summer. This is the best summer in the set, just about. It's 1975. So far, I should say. Best summer in the set so far. Not going to let any cats out of not going to let any cats out of the bag for what you're going to see later on. But certainly up to this point, it's the best summer. This is our genuinely hot summer with high pressure pretty much over the top of the UK and, Western Europe as well. It starts off cold. It has the famous snow on the 2nd of June, where snow showers stop the cricket and whatnot across the country. But once that cold snap at the beginning of June is out of the way, follows a cold spring, of course, and once that cold snap at the beginning of June is out of the way, the rest of the summer is just regularly dry and hot. It has a very hot August in 1975 with an 18 Celsius plus CT. It's one of the best summers of the 20th century. Of course, it's right in the middle of the Great Drought that starts in 1974 and doesn't end until autumn at 76, and we get two back-to-back very hot and dry summers of 75 and 76. As I say, it's one of the best summers of the 20th century in terms of hot and dry weather, and it does follow a negative NAO March of -1 or lower. Right, let's crack on. 1977 brings an end to the run of hot summers. So this one with a mid-Atlantic ridge type pattern and plenty of low pressure to our south and east. It's not a washout summer. It's actually quite a dry summer, but it's certainly much cooler compared to the summers before. And as I say, it does bring to an end the run of hot summers for 75 and also 76. Then we've got the summer of 1981. This is a little bit of an unusual summer in that it's cool and dry with this summer. So quite an anticyclonic summer, but with high pressure out west, we regularly bring in wind from a northwesterly direction. And so, yes, it's quite a dry summer, but often rather cool and cloudy. Not a bad August in 1981. It does have quite a warm August and just into the opening days of September. A long gap there. Wow. Long gap to 2001. 20 years we go before we have another March with a negative NAO at -1 or lower. Of course, in those 20 years, there probably are Marches that have like very weakly negative NAO, but remember, we're looking at more strongly negative NAO to be able to narrow down the Analogues package. So, summer 2001 is a rather mixed summer. You would look at that and think it's a really bad summer. It's not actually as bad as the Analogue would have you think. You know, it's regularly quite unsettled, but it does have also regular warm spells, a few heat waves in the mix as well. You know, they are very quickly breaking down into thunderstorms and that, but overall it's a pretty warm summer. It's warmer than average anyway, and rather mixed. Then we have the summer of 2005. This is another relatively sort of mixed type summer. Has a bit of everything in this summer. So there is a lot of hot weather, you know, particularly in June. There's at least two really quite intense heat waves in June. July and August also have a few heat waves as well. In between those, it's also quite unsettled with spells of rain. And yeah, something for everybody in the summer of 2005. And then we've got 2006. Now, this is a very hot front-loaded summer. It has high pressure over Scandinavia and also reaching into much of Western Europe as well. Winds in from the east, has a combination of a very hot and dry June and July. And then it gets much more unsettled and it's still relatively warm, but a lot cooler compared to June and July in August. So it's one of those summers, we've had quite a few of them up to last summer, where we think we're on course for classic summer, and then August lets things down. But it does, you know, it is a hot summer that we had in 2006, and particularly hot in July, which is a really, really hot month. 2010 is another front-loaded summer, so this one with mid-Atlantic ridge going towards Greenland, and also some high pressure over northeastern parts of Europe, because it has a tremendous heat wave in this summer in western Russia. I'm sure people will remember that, but you know, it was so hot, there was fatalities across western parts of Russia with that ridge of high pressure. Now, for us in the UK and Ireland, we have a very warm to hot early summer, so June 2010 is a very, very dry month. It's a tremendously dry Glastonbury, a little bit of a Dust Bowl type Glastonbury festival in June 2010, and that carries on just into the first week or so of July, and then it begins to wobble. July is like a wobble type month where it starts to turn more showery as the month goes on and begins to cool down, and it all culminates in quite a cool and very wet August in 2010. So that's what we call a classic front-loaded summer. 2013 in some ways similar to 2006, although not quite as hot as 2006 in June and July, but nevertheless it does have a very warm hot July, actually, an 18 Celsius CT for July 2013. And then in August 2013, it turns again cooler and more unsettled. And the best of the summer, therefore, is in the early to middle part of the summer of 2013. And we did it all over again for 2018, of course, which again has the ring of high pressure. Look at all this high pressure going from the Atlantic into western northern Europe, out into northern Russia, and then back towards Canada through here, into Canada and also western parts of America. There are central states of America, central northern states, and then into northeast Canada and back into the Atlantic. A ring of high pressure, and we're right in the centre of that high pressure, getting again a very hot June and July in 2018. Really, really hot for both of those months. And then again, August sort of lets things down and turns just a little bit cooler and more unsettled. Look at all the low pressure locked in over the Arctic, over the North Pole in that summer. So that's where the low pressure was. A hot summer, though, in 2018. Right, so let's put all of that together then. This is how all Junes combined are looking following March with a negative NAO of -1 or more. An anticyclonic signal for these dunes with a high pressure over to the west of the country, so not necessarily all that hot with a lot of them, as the high pressure's out in the Atlantic, which would imply winds coming in from a westerly direction, but should be relatively dry, and some of those could be quite hot. We've got 2006 in the mix, for example, but it is an anticyclonic signal that we have for those dunes. This is how all Julys combined are looking again with a following a March with a negative NAO of -1 or more. Again, quite an anticyclonic signal with higher pressure tending to be over slightly to the west of the country. So it is a dry signal, not necessarily guaranteed to be overly hot. But, there will be hot months in there. There's July 2013, there's July 2006, for example, which are tremendously hot Julys. So, overall, yes, a warm and quite dry signal for both June and July. And then that's August, which clearly shows a deterioration with a lot of these years. So we still have the area of high pressure close to us, but it just pulls a little bit further out into the Atlantic, which would imply that we start to allow more of an influence from the jet stream in, and also a very unsettled signal for much of Europe, actually. We're not quite as bad as most parts of Europe, but nevertheless, a deterioration is suggested there. So these analogues probably favouring like a front-loaded type summer, and then a deterioration later on to something a little bit cooler and more unsettled. Overall, this is how all summers combined are looking, following March with a negative NAO of -1 or more, tending to get high pressure reaching in close to the country, that's particularly so in June and July. So overall, an anticyclonic signal implying that there should be quite a lot of dry weather in these summers and could sometimes be quite warm or even hot. Now, one last thing I want to look at is the AO. So, as I said, we have had, we will have, when it's confirmed, a negative NAO through March of 2023. However, the AO, the Arctic Oscillation, has been positive through most of the month. We did go negative when we had that cold weather in the first week of March, in the first week, 10 days, but since about the second week of March, the AO has been trending in positive territory. GWV Ensemble's forecasting for the rest of March, the AO will continue to trend in positive territory as well, which is actually quite unusual. It's quite unusual to get the NAO negative and the AO positive. Normally we do that the other way round. It tends to be the Arctic Oscillation that is negative and the Northern Atlantic Oscillation that's positive. The default setup for the NAO is a positive setup, low pressure around Iceland, high pressure through the Azores. So a little bit unusual, and so just narrowing all of those years down that we've just looked at that have that negative NAO, and combining it with a positive NAO, we just come out with only two, that have like a negative NAO of -1 or more and a positive AO, and that is 1975 and 1977. So we've got the very hot and dry summer of 75 in there, but we have also got the cooler summer of 1977 too. The 2 years combined look like that for June, with again an anticyclonic signal, high pressure a little bit further away from us in the Atlantic, implying like a dryish but rather cool type pattern. Then we go through to all Julys, and again we see that idea of high pressure close to the country. We still have the anticyclonic signal for the Junes and for the Julys, just the two of them. And then this is how August combined looks much better for August, and that's because I suppose August 1975 was a classic hot August with an 18 Celsius CT. So it has a Scandinavian high favour for August 75 and 77, with low pressure across southern parts of Europe and winds in from the east. So a hot August, particularly for 1975, much less so of course, for 1977. And then that is how the two summers combined are looking. So this is how all summers combined are looking, albeit so two of them, but all summers combined are looking following a March negative NAO of -1 or lower, combined with a positive Arctic Oscillation, positive AO in March, and overall an anticyclonic signal, a relatively dry signal, definitely, for those two summers. And we know that one is hot and one is quite a lot cooler. Right, interesting, wasn't it? We're done. Okay, so that's it for our fourth summer 2023 update. Quite interesting, that one, wasn't it? Something a little bit different again. I think we're doing quite well with these summer updates, don't you? Well, yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. As I say, Richard's outside the box presentation will be coming up a little bit later on in the summer updates when his supercomputer has finished crunching the numbers. All of these updates, yesterday's seasonal roundup and the two seasonal, I should say, model roundups to come in April and May, and also all of the regular updates and the outside the box presentation when it arrives. They're all building up to the GavsWeatherVids Summer 2023 forecast. I tell you that summer forecast will be on Sunday, the 28th of May. The final Sunday of the month will be when we release our summer 2023 forecast. So all of these updates are building up a picture forensically week by week by week by week until we release our summer forecast on the 28th of May. Goodness gracious me. It's going to be an exciting day, isn't it? Right, thank you so much to Richard, and thank you so much to Shrine, hashtag Team Gav, for the help on this summer update. I'm going to start the video there. We'll be back a little bit later on with 10 to 14 days, so come back for that later. But for this week's summer 2023 update number 4, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.